Welcome into the latest edition then of Extra Time. Ian is with us, as is Stevie. I want to just revisit a couple of questions that we asked yesterday because they garnered quite interesting answers, and I want to ask them to you, Nedum. The first of which was, how was your journey from a pro footballer to a pundit, and what is one thing that genuinely surprised you about your new job?
So I started doing some punditry while I was still playing, which is more common nowadays. And it was good to get a little taste of it, not doing too much, but sort of learning how studios work, learning how each individual show is different, whether it's radio, TV, digital. And it was good to be able to learn that because you're essentially just a newbie in this. You know, you are brand new in that space. So that was good. And the thing that surprised me the most is how some people actually have a lot of skill in terms of doing what they do. And some people, it's as if just by magic, they've still somehow stayed in a job. So yeah, that's what surprised me, the variance in talent between people doing things that seem, you know, so easy to some, but for others, as I say, they've really surprised me how bad they are.
Passive aggressive. Ian, when you work with a pundit for the first time and they ask you for advice, if they do indeed ask you, what advice do you give them?
Not to talk too much, really, because if you're doing a co-commentary, that's quite different from being in a studio, because the game moves on. If you make your points in too long-winded a way while the match is going on, you're getting about 3 or 4 phases behind the play. So I think the best co-commentators, what I always say to footballers, if I was working alongside Nedum, I haven't had that privilege as yet, but I think what you'd say is, tell me stuff that only you can see as a guy who played at the top level of the game. The same with Stevie as well, of course. He played at the top level of the game. But, you know, I could watch 1,000 games and commentate on 1,000 games, but I wouldn't see everything that a top professional player would see. So if you can give those sort of insights, it does illuminate the commentary.
I remember the first time I ever did a game, and it was on the radio.
Oh, yeah?
And I was at the Boston Bulldogs.
Okay.
And it was on New England Revolution, and I can't remember the name of the team they were playing.
Right.
And I was in row 1,375, no monitor.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know the players on either team.
Good.
It was horrendous. I remember walking away to the car park, thinking, how embarrassing was that? I was absolutely terrible.
Wow.
And so the next time I did a game was here at ESPN.
Yep.
And I was so nervous because all I could think about was...
Were you really?
All I could think about was how bad it had been.
Right.
The first time I did it.
Yeah.
But then by the time I had done the first game, I thought, you know what? It does help if you can actually see the players.
Yes.
And you know who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, but I was terrible.
Wow.
Awful.
Do you remember we did some games together? Do you remember we did that French...
U21?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't get an Emmy for that, to be honest. That was quite something. And we also asked, I'm not stitching you up, I promise, Nathan. We asked this yesterday as well. If you could change one moment in your career, what would it be and why?
That's a great question.
Well, again, Tim. So mine was missing a chance for Scotland in the World Cup in '86. I had a chance to score. I didn't connect properly. Goalie got across and saved it, and we drew 0-0. And had we won, we'd have qualified for the next stages for the first time ever. Oh. So I could have gone from being a mega hero.
Yes.
Or I could have been. Instead of that, every time I go back to Scotland, all I get is, oh, you missed that chance against Uruguay. So that was mine from yesterday.
As Ian was saying, you know, he said we both played at the top level, but your top level is just a shelf higher than mine, at least a shelf higher. So I don't necessarily have those moments. But what I would say, and this is a proper hindsight one, in the MLS season of 2020, we actually played the first 2 games of the season, and the second game was at home. And I had 3 chances, and I should have scored 3 goals, and I didn't take any of them. And then a day later, the season stopped, and that was the start of my last season. So I could have been someone that scored a hat-trick in that season. And instead, I remember walking away thinking, I can't believe I've missed that. And then fast forward, a career, because by the end of that season I was done and I had no goals to show for it. So I'd probably say if I could take some of those, that would have been a nice sort of way to sort of wrap up the last year of my career.
Ian, is there a moment of a commentary or an interview or something in your broadcasting career that you wish you could go back and change?
Well, when I was in radio, there were about 3 occasions when I forgot to put a tape in the machine. So there was no when I got back into the studio. So that's one thing you learn quite quickly. I think well, the fight, I don't know if it's the one I regret because it was a bit of a laugh, but I said on air one day, do you remember Liverpool used to have or Newcastle had a goalkeeper called Mike Cooper back in the day. Stevie will remember this. They were playing, Newcastle were playing at Oldham, and he was making save after save. And I said, I don't know why I said this. I said, he's a goalkeeper who should know his angles. He's got a degree in maths. Or is it English literature? I can't remember. So I'm never going to forget that by people at the channel I was working for at the time. But we had a good laugh anyway.
Oh, very nice.
You've got to laugh, haven't you?
You've got to, yes.
Big mate.
Mike Hooper. Was he the one who was he the bird spotter?
Aye.
Yeah, he'd go off for the weekend.
Yeah, he would come in. I remember coming in one Monday, and he was sitting in the corner, and I could have sworn that he looked as though he was like half asleep.
Right.
I was like, "Hoop, you all right? Have you been out last night on the juice or what?" And he went, "No." He said I was in Sky, and I went, "What?" He went, "I was in Sky."
Yeah.
I went, "Sky in Scotland," which, by the way, is I'm going to say an 11-hour drive.
Yep.
From Liverpool. He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What were you doing there? Was it a wedding or something?" He went, "No. I went to see a black speckled something."
Wow.
And I went, "So let me get this right. You drove 11 hours?" And you went, "Oh, that's a nice bob." And then got back in the car and drove back. And he went, "Well, yeah."
There you are.
Big hoop.
Nedum, can I ask you a question? I'm not being an idiot, but I'm just intrigued.
For once.
Well, because we've been talking about call-ups and first-time call-ups around Cole Palmer. And obviously you played for England 21s, but then I think I'm right in saying never got the call-up for England. Was there a point that you thought you were going to get a call-up? And at what point did you think, right, I'm not going to worry about this anymore?
There was a point actually where I thought I was going to get a call-up because I was on I was on standby at one time. But that was it essentially. And you know, sometimes you read the press and you say this guy's going to get called up or this guy's in the mix. But in fairness, at that time for England, the way that they select their teams, they had the guys who were set in stone. And in fairness, they did very well for England, relatively speaking. So yeah, I never thought it's definitely not going to happen. Maybe when I was in MLS, I was like pretty sure it's not going to happen. Maybe when I was in the Championship, it's definitely not going to happen. But realistically, anything is possible. And the only time I sort of regret it, or where I thought maybe it could have happened, was when Stuart Pearce took charge for, I think it was one game, and he brought up about 6 players that he'd had at under 21s. But I was not one of those 6 names, and I ended up watching it from a distance.
Did he have a conversation with you? Did any manager have a conversation with you?
No. Not quite, no. Stuart Pearce himself, I think he thinks we get on, but I don't particularly get on with him because I remember what the decision he made. I think it was the under-21s final, European Championship final against Germany, and he took me off at half-time as one of the senior players, and I was playing fine. It was one of the weirdest decisions outside of him putting a goalkeeper up front that I'd seen him do. So from that point, I really struggled to get over it, and here we are 14 years later, and I'm still not over it, so me trying to speak to him was never really something I was striving to do after that point.
Wow. Oh, we should get you and Stuart Pearce together. You, Joey Barton and Stuart Pearce, all on a show together, Nedum. Oh, I'd love it. That would be great.
Let's do it, yeah. Let's go
that
for
would
it,
entertain me immensely. Ian, we all believe that the Premier League is the best league in the world, but why does an elite footballer like Mbappe have no interest in playing in England?
Well, I don't know that he doesn't have any interest in playing in England. I've not had the privilege of talking to the fella, but, I mean, would you rule that out, that he would never play in England at some point in his career? I mean, he's probably going to Real Madrid next, isn't he? But we've been saying that for a couple of years, haven't we? I'd have a bet. I think that at some point in his career, he probably will play in the Premier League.
For Nedum, what was it like playing against Drogba in his prime? Do you think he gets enough recognition today for how good he was?
I think he gets a lot of recognition, but I think where it stumbles is for younger people who haven't maybe seen him play, they'd probably look at his stats and say, well, he wasn't that good. But one thing about him was on his day, he was borderline unplayable. You saw so many games where, he'd bully a Carragher, a Senderos, like he's really taking people to the cleaners. And he's an incredible player. I think having played against him, it wasn't really Drogba, it was more like Drogzilla. Physically, he was as strong as anyone you'd ever play against. He had great movement, was a great finisher. But a little known stat for you, Dan, in all the duels I played against him, he never actually scored against me, but I scored against him one time, Dan. How crazy is that?
That is very crazy. Is this you bragging again about your Stamford Bridge goal?
Oh, no, don't make me talk about that, Dan. Don't make me talk about that. Even though it's 13 years and 1 day, but don't make me talk about it, because I've forgotten about it. I've forgotten about it already.
Should we say something? You could say something nice about Drogba, and he was something else, wasn't he?
He was brilliant. I mean, and he was the scorer in big games, wasn't he, as well? Cup finals and things. But not against Nedum.
No, not against them. Yeah, you said big games.
Clearly not big game. Clearly not big game. Yeah.
Not big enough.
For Stevie, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of Scottish football?
I'm trying. How many is there?
4.
4?
Yeah.
Oh.
So you'd have Kenny,
Hansen, Dalglish, Souness and Dennis Law.
There we are. Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who's a close 5th? Who's your 5th?
I don't think there's a real close one. I mean,
Okay. All right, don't force it.
No.
Don't force it.
There
It's
are
fine.
people you wouldn't hear of. A guy called Jim Baxter.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim Baxter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, those 4.
Yeah.
Aye, easy peasy.
Hansen, Dalglish, Souness, Law. Do you agree, Ian?
I couldn't top that, and I wouldn't argue with Steve about Scotland. So yeah, I mean that's a pretty cool 4, isn't it?
Right then, Ian, of all the many games that you've watched, what's the craziest comeback you've seen that you've witnessed live?
Oh, that's easy. That's easy because I was lucky enough to be the commentator that night of the, I think you call it the remontada, don't they? Barcelona lost first leg 4-0. Messi was given 2 out of 10 in L'Equipe for his performance. Second leg, they're going out with 7 minutes to go. They need 3 goals. They get 3 goals in the last 7 minutes. Sergio Roberto, 95th minute header, and Barcelona somehow win. And Steve McManaman was commentating with me, and you couldn't get back to the hotel. The place was going crazy, so we just sat drinking with the fans for half the night.
Oh. That's not like Macca.
No.
No comment.
For Nedum, which player or players do you believe have improved the most during the Pep era at City?
Do you know what? I think possibly to start with, this is probably a bit of a sleeper one, but like Kyle Walker, because I thought maybe he wouldn't be someone that would thrive and become, perceived as one of the best fullbacks in the world, but I think he has. But then you can mention Rodri as well. When Fernandinho was there, nobody was talking about Rodri to come in. No one was thinking if he played, he was going to end up being the player that he is. So I'd probably lean into him as well. And then for more recent side, Manuel Akanji. He came in and he felt like he was going to be a backup, and people were talking about all the mistakes he used to make when he was in Germany. But now he's one of the players that seems to very rarely get rested. And the prime example was in that game against Chelsea. There were a lot of people who didn't have good games, but overall I think he was defensively very, very good. So I think I'd probably name those 3, but Kyle Walker's probably the main one.
Do you agree, Stevie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure Kyle Walker was going to fit into this ultra passing. But he absolutely has he's become an integral part of it.
Ian, your thoughts on Emma Hayes leaving Chelsea for the US Women's National Team job?
Oh, I think it's a fantastic appointment for the US. I really do. Lucky enough to work with Emma on the Women's Euros, and she is a bundle of ideas and energy. She loves the game to bits. She's obviously a very, very talented coach, and I don't think they could have appointed anybody better.
For all, who's the most intelligent player you've ever played with? Well, it's got to be yourself, isn't it, Nedum? Accounting degree, 3 A's at A-levels, my crikey.
No. It's never been me. I'd say in terms of sort of thought, I'd probably say Vincent Kompany, because he's obviously very much into his books. He's a deep thinker, and then also he speaks so many languages and was keen to learn more. I think anybody that can communicate in a room with so many different nationalities, I think that's a skill, and that ability to pass on a message in many different ways. I think that's something that makes him very, very intelligent from that standpoint.
What are you, Steve?
Are we talking about IQ here, type stuff?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, as opposed to football brain.
He's already had a mention, Mike Hooper.
Mike Hooper?
Yeah.
Wow, Hoops is someone loving it.
Yeah, well, Eleanor
With
plays
his
that
degree
game with him.
She plays, what, Words with Friends?
No. What's the other game? Well, we'll put it this way. He's always picking, all the tough subjects. You know, Eleanor's picking, movies and all kinds of stuff.
What game are you playing?
Oh, what's the name of it?
Trivial Pursuit?
Oh, then I'll look it up.
Oh, there you are. You look
Yeah,
at...
you fire away and I'll look it up.
you look at... Ian, who impressed you when it comes to intelligence and football?
Well, I don't know, because I mean the guys are around the dressing room with the players, so they would know
Quiz
the better.
Planet.
Immediate football brain. I'd say Glenn Hoddle.
Right. Quiz Planet. There we are.
Quiz Planet. Glenn Hoddle over Kenny Dalglish
Oh, dear.
for football brain.
Probably not. Go on then.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, he was.
Don't get him going.
Actually, I think you've trumped me there. I think you put your ace on there, Stevie.
There you are. Yeah, you can see it was a Quiz Nation, whatever it's called.
Quiz Planet.
I don't know if you saw this, Ian, but how angry do you get when you're raking your leaves?
What?
I feel that maybe is it a video that needs context
What are you
here?
on about?
I haven't raked. Who's that raking the leaves?
That's
not
Stephen
me.
Nicol.
Oh,
That
is
is
it? Oh,
Yeah.
no, I haven't raked any leaves yet this summer, winter or autumn.
Oh, you can come to
Or-
my house, Sam.
Hi, Stevie, you've just beat them outside your
I'll
outside
beat
your
him to
house.
death. Then they'll knock him back.
I need to do it though. I need to do it because when you play golf at the moment, you can't find the ball, can you? Because it's under a leaf somewhere.
Oh dear, hard life, Ian. Finally, someone sent me this picture, Stevie, which I think was used to mark 100 years at Liverpool. You know what I'm talking about?
Aye.
There you go. Look at that.
That is a belter, isn't it?
Very nice.
Holy smoke.
Yeah,
That is a beauty.
very good.
Wow, I remember getting that done. Seems like a couple of weeks ago. Clearly not.
Yeah, Mulby's big, isn't he?
Do you know what? He's probably about the same size now.
Oh, really?
Aye.
So you've... no, it's a minute.
He's in good nick.
Yeah?
Unlike,
Is he?
Unlike
others.
Yeah, others.
Unlike others. Ian, when you started commentating, is that what people look like?
Yeah. I think those
Yeah.
shirts will come back. They should wear those as a special commemorative outfit for next season.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice, wouldn't it? They look good.
Aye.
Yeah? Bit of vintage, retro.
Tell you what, imagine playing in those things.
They're heavy, I imagine,
Seriously. Imagine they got wet as well.
Yeah?
Oh my goodness, shocking.
And is Mark Wright's wearing a fake moustache, I assume, yes?
No,
That's the real one that he's
he
had.
grew it for it.
Say again?
He grew it for it.
Did he?
No,
No.
don't be silly.
Oh, you could have sold me right down the river.
I already
You
did.
should have done.
Already did.
You should have done, taking me all the
I
way.
already did.
Oh, I believed you, Stevie.
No, don't
And obviously that's Bruce's real hair.
Fantasy land now.
Hey, look at that. That's right. Who was it? Craig Johnson had hair like that, though, didn't he? He had big curly hair.
Aye.
He could have done it.
Aye. Au natural.
Oh, natural?
Yes.
Stevie. OK, right, enough of this nonsense. Thank you very much, everyone. ESPN FC is back on your screens tomorrow. Some actual international games that matter to look ahead to. Be sure to join Kay and the gang.